I'm barefoot because I read a very interesting article about someone who was sharing, actually several someones who was sharing from different holy books. And we have found that when you are barefoot, you're grounded. And so today, because there's a lot of information, I want to be very, very grounded for you today. So I'm going to ask you, as we begin, if you would just open your hands, have a straight spine, maybe put your feet on the floor. You might want to kick your shoes off. Close your eyes and breathe. Breathe fully and completely through your nose. Full, full, full breath, and then exhale. Completely empty. And then inhale again. Full, full, full breath. And as you exhale, release. Release into this space of here, of now. Letting go of your thoughts. Letting go of your worries, your concerns. And with each inhalation, visualize the brightness of the sun rays, iridescent, pulling in the sun. Allow those rays to come in through the top of your head with your breath and to feel your entire spirit. And with each and every exhalation, relaxing deeper into here and now. Creator, Great Spirit, Giver of life and Giver of breath, we come to you today in a good way. We're only asking for good things. And Great Spirit, Creator, we're so thankful for this day we've never seen before, nor shall we ever see again. This day that is filled with abundance and prosperity, fertility and joy and peace. And as you breathe in this, feel this in your spirit. And as you exhale, release anything that may be bothering you or concerning you. And Great Spirit, we ask that we breathe in your essence, your spirit, that the breath of life fill our spirit, and we are so grateful. Tankashala wakatanka mahio. Hear our voices as we ask Creator to be with us today, to open our hearts and our minds, that we may find great compassion for all walks of life, that we may not walk in judgment of others, but have love for all of our brothers and our sisters around the world. We ask for the East to bring us the awakening of remembering who we are, remembering why we are here. You created us for greatness. You created us to transform this world into a world of peace and of love and of compassion and joy in abundance. Help us to remember. bring us the vision of the eagle. Help us to see within ourselves how we can root in firmly to you and stay connected. Great Spirit, we call in the direction of the south, where our brother Wolf teaches us to live in community with each other, in abundance and in joy. Where the fire will burn, let that spark inside of us ignite into a blaze, that we may feed others and ourselves. We call in the direction of the west, where the bear will give us strength and courage and remind us to nurture our young, for they are our future. Maybe let us remember all of the young. Let us send them love and guidance, and let us be the example for them to follow through our actions and not through our words, Creator, because words can speak anything, but actions speak so much louder. In Great Spirit, we call in the direction of the north and ask that the buffalo bring us wisdom. We bring in the ones that have come before us, that have forged the way for us to awaken to a new consciousness that is rooted in Mother Earth and in love, staying connected always to you. And today, as we hear these messages, let us not be in judgment, Creator. Let us be in love for all of our brothers and sisters. We give thanks for this. We ask all these things in the name of all that is. We are in great gratitude. In Great Spirit, this place would not exist without the giving of our community members. We would not be able to pay rent, to be able to come together as a great community. We are so grateful for all people that have come and that have donated their time and their energy and their money that they have worked so hard for, Great Spirit. I ask you for everyone that gives and that loves, that visits this place, that has found peace and joy. I ask that you bless each one. Bless their giving and multiply it abundantly, exceedingly more than they could ever imagine. We are in great, great gratitude. We ask this and give thanks in the name of all that is. So it shall be. Amen. Aho! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Scott. So today, many people are celebrating lots of different rituals. And so one of the rituals that are celebrated very much here in the United States is called Easter. And Easter is quite an amazing ritual. When we talk about rituals, we kind of think of things that we've seen on TV. And sometimes when you use the word ritual, it can elicit in you a negative, like a blood sacrifice, a killing of some sort. So what is a ritual? Well, according to Wikipedia, which I'm not very fond of, I will tell you rituals are of different kinds. They can include all kinds of different various worships. But a ritual really is anything that we do intentional. Many activities can be performed that are rituals. School activities can become a ritual. Anything can become a ritual if you're doing it with intent and you're energizing it It doesn't matter what it is, it can become a ritual. So when I use the word ritual, I have to let you know that sometimes within each one of us, when I was younger and I heard the word ritual, I automatically thought of the movies and what I'd seen on the movies. And it elicited me, and no, we don't want a ritual. But Easter is a ritual, Christmas is a ritual, Thanksgiving is a ritual. What kind of other rituals do people do? That you may not think is a ritual, you may think of it as a celebration of sorts, a wedding.
Funerals.
Or funerals. Birthdays. So we can see when we look at the definition of ritual how it can go across the board in many, many, many different directions. So according to cultural anthropology, it says, while the word ritual commonly brings to mind exotic images of primitive others diligently engaged in mystical activities, one can find rituals anywhere, both sacred and secular throughout modern society. Collective experiences from the Olympics, and most people don't think that's a ritual. The Olympics is a ritual. From the Olympics to the commemoration of national tragedies. Another ritual that people don't know that's a relatively new ritual would be 9/11. Now people are coming together every time 9/11 comes about, and they're doing a ritual, some sort of ritual of giving. So when we look at ritual, it can go in everything from Thanksgiving to Mardi Gras, personal life patterns, from morning grooming routines to the ways in which we greet and interact. A handshake is a ritual. Hello, how are you doing? With that handshake, that's a ritual. How are you? And we all do it, and we don't look at these things as rituals. So when we look, it says, within this universality, the inherent multiplicity of ritual practices both between and within cultures also reflects the full diversity of the human experience. Because we are all diverse. So anything that we do with energy repeatedly, we're energizing it with our thoughts and our intentions, become a ritual. So Easter. Easter is a movable feast. It's not fixed in relation to the actual calendar. It's not like December 25th. On December 25th, every year, we know that people celebrate Christmas. But Easter moves. And it's based on what? Well, it's based, actually, on several different things. But one of the things it's based on, and most people don't know, is the full moon. The full moon of Paschal. So, in the First Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, established the date of Easter. Now, 325 is how many years after Jesus died?
Say what again?
Well, how many years, if it's 325 CE, is it after Jesus died?
What does that mean?
CE is before he died.
Oh.
So Jesus didn't even
So
die.
how
Common era.
did we have the date of Easter before Jesus died? Does this make, is everybody in here now complexed? Good, this is what I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to make you question everything. Because through questioning, ask, and it shall be answered. Knock, and the door shall be open. If you're not questioning, it can't be open, can it? If you're not seeking, seek and you shall find. If you're not seeking, you cannot find, can you? So this is why I put this on here, because I wanted to jar you. I wanted to, whoa, wait. What? I wanted you to realize that this was established before. So Easter is linked to the Jewish Passover by much of its different symbolism, as well as the position in the calendar. In many languages, the word Easter and Passover are identical or interchanged. So on Friday we had Passover, and today is Easter. There is no indication of the observance of Easter festival in the New Testament or with the apostolic fathers. The first Christians continued to observe the Jewish festivals, God's festivals of Leviticus 23. I'm having a hard time speaking today. I really feel like it was because of Lodge yesterday. Just going to tell you that, so please bear with me. Leviticus 23. Though in a new spirit, as commemorations of events which those festivals had foreshadowed. That was according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. So what are some of the things that Easter might have been delineated from? Well, according to many different sources, including Encyclopedia, a lot has to do with Oster. Oster was a goddess, and what she did is she had found a bird that was injured. And to save the bird, she was transforming the bird. Okay? And when she transformed the bird, it didn't fully take effect. So she transformed it into a hare, a rabbit. But the full transformation didn't occur. So the rabbit could still lay eggs. So most people don't know that this is the goddess of spring, of fertility. That when she actually lends her name, and believe it or not, our female hormone that was named estrogen comes from Esther. Easter comes from Esther. Her feast was held on the full moon following the vernal equinox, almost the identical calculation as the Christian Easter in the West. Isn't this amazing? I love to do this. Because what it does is it unites us. It helps us to remember that no matter what our belief system is, no matter what our diversities are, no matter what our differences are, there's a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities.
Yeah, that we all believe the same thing.
We all believe the same things.
Like,
we may call them different.
Things, yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah,
We may call it different, but we all are kind of going on the same path. So, when she found this injured bird on the ground in winter, she was really trying to save its life. She was moved because she's the goddess of fertility and of spring. She wanted this beautiful bird to continue, so she tried to transform it. It didn't take complete effect, and therefore the bird turned into the hare, but it could still lay eggs. The hare then, in its gratitude, just imagine if it was you dying in the snow and someone came along and they saved you. In gratitude, that hare would pin its eggs and leave it for the goddess to find. Isn't that beautiful? I just love that because it shows such a depth of gratitude. So the Easter bunny is a symbol of fertility. Among the German Lutherans, the Easter hare played the role of a judge. It would evaluate if children were good or bad. Who else does that sound like? Santa Claus. He knows when you are sleeping. He knows when you're awake. I love that. Again, a lot of similarities, isn't it? Even in that. The custom was first mentioned in 1682, referring to a German tradition of Easter hare bringing Easter eggs for the children that were found good. The idea that the hare could reproduce with eggs without association of any type of sexual intercourse or would bring us to Virgin Mary because the hare was then seen as a virgin. In ancient times, it was widely believed that the hare was a I love that word, hermaphrodite, especially on a day that I can speak. I can normally have trouble with that word. Hermaphrodite, that means that it was male and female. It was both. The hare is associated with the moon in the legends of ancient Egypt and other peoples. The Egypt word for hare is and means also open and period. That hare came to be associated with the idea of completion, both lunar and human, and with the beginnings of the new life in both the young man and young woman, and so a symbol of fertility, of renewal of life. Have you ever heard of before we had pregnancy tests, did you hear of she killed the rabbit?
Yeah.
She killed the rabbit meant what they would do is they would take from the mother that thought she was pregnant, they would inject it into a bunny, a rabbit, and if the rabbit died, that meant she was pregnant because that hormone would kill the rabbit. So if she killed the rabbit, it meant she was in her creation time. Again, isn't it interesting? Very, very interesting. So with the eggs are, of course, given. I know my children, even at this age, really still love to have, my son is here today. So Erin, and my daughter is not feeling well, she is in my office. But they love to do the Easter egg hunts. How many of you like to hunt for things when you were a kid? You like? So
Yeah, I still do.
I still like it. I still like it. And I'm how old? I love it. I love to search and to find and to look how they were decorated and who decorated it and the art on them. So they are a traditional symbol of fertility and rebirth, a start of a new life. And in the Christian belief system, we believe that when Jesus was raised from the dead, again, a new life, right? A new life, which is where the symbolism of eggs can come from. The ostrich eggs were actually engraved and decorated 60,000 years ago. 60,000 years ago in Africa.
Dang.
In Africa, they would decorate ostrich eggs as representations of the ostrich eggs in gold and silver, and they were commonly placed in graves of the ancient Sumerians and Egyptians as early as 5,000 years ago. So we can find that in Africa 60,000 years ago, they would decorate the eggs. 5,000 years ago, they began to place these eggs in tombs. The ancient Zoroastrians, that's a nice word, painted eggs for Nuruz. And Nuruz, their New Year's celebration on the spring equinox. The tradition continues among Parisians of the Islamic, Zoroastrian, and other faiths today. It has existed for over 2,500 years. So, if I walk into your establishment, your home, and you greet me, and I say, "Where's your bathroom?" Or I say, "¿Dónde está el baño?" Am I requesting the same thing? I'm speaking a different language. ¿Dónde está el baño? Baño. Thank you. Baño. So it's the same, right? I'm asking for the same thing. I may just be using different words. So I'm going to ask that as today, as we go through this, is there just a possibility that all these different cultures are explaining the exact same energy, but they're using their own words to do that? Meaning if I go from here to, let's say, Africa, then things are going to be explained the same, but in their words, in their culture, in what they understand and they know. So Easter eggs in Christianity are widely popular for the symbol of new life. In Bulgaria, Poland, Romania, Russia, Ukraine, and other Central European countries, folk traditions. In Christianity, Easter eggs symbolize the empty tomb of Jesus. Officially adopted as a Christian custom in AD. Now wait a minute. 325 CE. Are we finding something interesting here? 325 CE, 1610 AD. Pope Paul, with the prayer, said, "Bless, O Lord, we beseech thee, this thy creature of eggs, that it may become a wholesome sustenance to thy faithful servants, eating it in thankfulness to thee on account of the resurrection of the Lord." See, this is kind of history lesson today, a little bit. It gets even more exciting. So let's talk about Krishna. Lord Krishna. So here we welcome all belief systems. We welcome all belief systems because we do want to honor that everybody finds the Great Spirit, the Creator, in their own way. Who am I to judge and say where you found God is wrong? You might have found God in the Jewish tradition. You may have found God and the Buddhist and the Hindu and the Wiccan. Who am I to say that where you found God isn't in the wrong? So let's look at Krishna. Krishna lived 14 centuries before Jesus and died at the age of 125. He was supposed to be the 8th complete incarnate of Vishnu, which Vishnu is the name of God for them, creator. Okay, he was dark-skinned and considered extremely handsome. Actually, the word Krishna actually means black. He was the embodiment of love, divine joy that destroys all pain and sin. He was the protector of sacred utterances, and he also protected cows. He was the instigator of all forms of knowledge, and he was born to establish the religion of love. Now, most people, when we think of Jesus, we think of what? Jesus came here to show us love. He came here to show us how we can think differently towards our neighbors. He was the one that went out among the well with the Samaritan woman. He dined with prostitutes and thieves. That's love. That's love. So is it a possibility that some of these cultures, when they're using words for their God, their Lord, their Creator, could they be describing the exact same energy, but saying it in their words? So Krishna, according to the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was born without any sexual union, so he's born from a virgin. So let's look at some of the similarities. Christ and Krishna were called both God and Son of God. Both were sent from heaven to earth in the form of man. Is it a possibility? I'm not here to tell you what to believe. Is it a possibility that they're explaining the same energy? They're using the word Krishna, we're using the word Jesus. Is that just a possibility? Both were called Savior and the second person of the Trinity. Krishna's adopted human father was also a carpenter. Isn't that amazing? Both were from royal descent. Both were visited by birth by wise men and shepherds, guided by a star. Are we seeing any similarities? Any similarities? So I'm not here to make you, I'm not here to say, believe this or believe that. I'm here to say, what if we're all right? What if we're all looking? What if we're all seeking for the truth? And we're just using the words in which we know. So let's not be so quick to judge when somebody else is using a different word. Both were visited by the wise men and the shepherd, guided by a star. Angels in both cases issued warnings that the local dictator planned to kill the baby. Remember, Herod was trying to get rid of Jesus, so he sent his soldiers to kill all of born boys under the age of 2. Same here. Both their parents fled. Mary and Joseph fled. So did Krishna's parents. Both Christ and Krishna withdrew to the wilderness as adults and fasted. Both were identified as the seed of the woman bruising the serpent's head. Isn't that interesting? Both were described as that. Jesus was called the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Krishna was called the Lion of the tribe of Saki. Are we seeing a lot of similar? Both claimed, I am the resurrection. Both were without sin. Both were God-men, being considered both human and divine. Both performed many miracles, including the healing of disease. One of the first miracles that both performed was to make a leper whole. Each cured all manners of diseases. Both cast out indwelling demons and raised the dead. Both selected disciples to spread his teachings. Both were meek and merciful. Both were criticized for associating with sinners. Both celebrated a Last Supper. Both forgave his enemies. And both were crucified, and both were resurrected. Anybody in here sitting here going, I didn't know that? How many people had no idea?
I don't know.
Yes. Yep. Buddha and Jesus. Let's look. Is there a difference? What are the similarities? Both went to their temples at the age of 12. They were said to have astonished all with their wisdom at the age of 12. How many of you know very wise 12-year-olds? Go ahead and raise your hand. You know, very wise 12-year-olds. Both supposedly fasted in solitude for a long time. Buddha for 47 days, Jesus for 40 days. Both wandered to a fig tree at the conclusion of their fast. Both were about the same age when they began their public ministry. Both. At the time when Buddha began his ministry, he was 29 years old. Jesus, when he began his ministry, was about 30 years old. Both were tempted by the devil at the beginning of their ministry. To Buddha, he said, "Go not forth to adopt a religious life, but return to your kingdom, and in 7 days you shall become emperor of the world, riding over the 4 continents." To Jesus, he said, "All these kingdoms of the world I will give you if you fall down and worship me." This was in Matthew. Buddha answered the devil, "Get you away from me." Jesus responded, "Begone, Satan." Are there any similarities?
Yeah.
Both strove to establish a kingdom of heaven on earth. According to the Buddhist holy book, a Buddhist ascetic eye once offended him, so he plucked it out and cast it away. Jesus said, "If your right eye causes you sin, pluck it out and throw it away." Any similarities? What about Attis? Born of a virgin. He died and he was reborn, but he was reborn annually. The festival began as a day of blood on Black Friday and culminated after 3 days in a day of rejoicing over his resurrection. Aaron. Yes.
Odysseus.
Thank you. Odysseus, a carpenter like Jesus, and he wants to return to his home just as Jesus wants to be welcomed back in his native home and later in God's home in Jerusalem. Odysseus is plagued with unfaithful and dim-witted companions. Now, Jesus wasn't. Jesus had disciples, right? But he was. What happened? Who kissed Jesus on the cheek? Thank you. So when he says this because the way he passed was that while he slept, they accidentally released terrible tempests, which prevented their return home. These sailors were compared to Jesus' disciples who disbelieved Jesus and kept asking him. You remember when Jesus said to the disciples, "When will you believe me and stop questioning?" Romulus, born of a virgin. Romulus and his twin brother. Now, Jesus didn't have a twin that we know of, right? We didn't know that if Jesus had a twin. We weren't taught that. But in Romulus did have a twin. And guess what? They were tossed in the river and left for dead. Very comparable to the slaughter of the innocents when Herod sent out and said, "Kill all boys." Held as the Son of God, he's snatched away to heaven in a whirlwind. It says that there was darkness covering the earth before his death, just as there was during Jesus' death. Remember when the earth shook with God's anger? Very interesting. He was said to be the Son of God, which was a part, again, of a triad. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dionysus, born of a virgin on December 25th.
I know you can't make this
So
stuff
cool.
up.
I can't make it up.
Can't make this stuff up.
I am listing different resources. You can look any of this up. You can Google this. I encourage you to Google it. I do. I encourage you because when you seek, you shall find. If you're not seeking, how can you find what you're not seeking? He was a traveling teacher who performed miracles. He rose from the dead on March 25th. He was the God of the vine that turned water into wine, was called King of Kings, God of Gods, considered the only begotten Son, Savior, Redeemer, Sin Bearer, Anointed One, and the Alpha and the Omega, was identified with the ram or the lamb. His sacrificial title of and I'm not even going to try to say that because I'm having a hard time with English right this moment. But basically, it was young man of the tree, which says he was hung on a tree or crucified. We're not really sure how he died. We just knew it was on a tree. We don't know if he was actually hung or crucified. We can't find the records to that. Are there any similarities? Maybe we're all saying the same thing. Maybe they're saying the same thing, but the way they're describing it is in a different word. How about Hercules? Hercules was the son of God, of Zeus, right? It is recorded that Zeus is both the father and the great-great-great-grandfather of Hercules, just as Jesus is essentially his own grandpa, being both the root and offspring of David. Revelations. He's part of, again, the Trinity, which is the father of Adam and eventually of Jesus. Both are doubly related to the supreme God. Now this book actually writes that for as regards the magnitude of the deeds which he accomplished, it is generally agreed that Hercules has been handed down as one who surpassed all men, of whom memory from the beginning of time has brought down an account. Consequently, it is very difficult attainment to report each one of his deeds in a worthy manner, and to present a record which shall be on a level with laborers so great, the magnitude of which won for him the prize of immortality. Hera tries to kill Hercules as an infant by sending 2 serpents. Yet Hercules survives by strangling him. This parallels, again, the story of Herod sending his soldiers to kill all boys under the age of 2. Hercules makes a descent into Hades and returns from it with Theseus. And I'm not even going to try. I did not take Greek. I did that when I was working through seminary. I'm not going to try this, just as Jesus descended. But here's the difference. When Jesus descended and came back up from Hades, he didn't bring anybody with him. This says he did bring 2 with him. How about Glycon? From the mid-hundreds AD, was the son of the god of Apollo, who came to earth through a miraculous birth, was the earthly manifestation of divinity, came to earth in fulfillment of divine prophecy, gave his chief believer the power of prophecy, gave believers the power to speak in tongues, performed miracles, healed the sick, and raised the dead. Is there again? I'm just asking you to look, because here's the one thing I want to share with you today. And we have a few more to go through. We have been divided. We have found every reason to not stand hand in hand with our brothers and our sisters. Whether it is, my religion is better than you, my lifestyle is better than you, I'm in a social class that's better than you. There's division, 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 division. There are 7 billion people on this planet. What if we quit looking at reasons to not get along? And what if we all started looking for reasons to get along? Can you imagine what we could do on this planet? 7 billion people working together. We can always see our differences. I'm asking you today, can we see ourselves in each other? On this day, on this precipitous moment, when many are celebrating Easter, many, and others are celebrating other rituals, can we see? Can we look into our hearts and see that maybe we're all saying the same thing, maybe just a little differently? I'm asking you for this. It is time for a great change on this planet. Yes. And a great change is coming. And it's coming quickly. I want you to hear me. Now that great change can be a great change of beauty and of wonder and of tapping into a new consciousness that Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, we could go on, seated to teach us to love with compassion and without judgment. What if we all did that? Can you see the world being a different place? A place where you're so happy to get up in the morning, a
A place where our children aren't being bullied in school. And not just bullied by other children, but bullied by adults. A place where no one walks past their brother or their sister that's in need. A place where nothing but compassion and love and joy and peace and happiness exists, and there's not this conflict and this war and this bombing. Do we really? We have been at war as a country for centuries. What if we stopped? I want you to breathe that in. Think about that for a moment. What if that stopped? How would your life be different? How would your children and your grandchildren's lives be different? You are the change. We are not a huge organization because people are still waking up. They're still becoming aware. We've been taught since birth to judge others. We've been taught since birth to hate each other. We've been taught since birth to see what's wrong with our neighbors and not what's right with our neighbors. A child is not born with hatred. A child is not born to discriminate, does not know the difference between black, white, red, or yellow in a person. A child doesn't know anything but love. A child walks into a room and says, "Will you be my friend?" What if we can tap back into that child that's in us? Today, I ask that this be a new life for you. A new way of walking. It is so easy for us to go in to large organizations that are worshiping and that are finding Creator in their own way. My question is when we walk out of those organizations, are our footsteps and our actions saying what we were just doing? Or are they saying the opposite? I'm asking you today for a new life. For a life that you're so bold. You're so bold that you don't care if people judge you. That you share love and compassion. That you truly walk in Jesus' footsteps. Buddha's, Krishna's. How many have we looked at already? That you walk in those footsteps and you exemplify love. You exemplify compassion. You exemplify strength and boldness. Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Vishnu, all of them stood in the face of great adversary, lost their lives for that, to teach us that we too must do the same. We too must say, wait a minute, stop. We cannot discriminate against somebody because they're different from us for any reason. We cannot hate. That's not what we were taught by these great leaders and teachers. This is not what we were taught. This is not what we were made for. I'm going to ask you a question. Think about when you're angry and you have hate brewing. We've all had that. No matter how, I've been just as guilty, and I know this. I have worked very hard to get to a place where I can look at somebody when they're screaming at me and yelling at me and telling me how, I'm a product of the devil, or I'm this, or I'm that, and they don't even know me, and just give them love and say, I really am sorry you're having such a bad day. I apologize if I said anything or did anything that upset you. I hope that you have a blessed day and you find love and peace. And instead of that being received in a thank you, it's received with more anger and more. How do you feel when you have that anger and that hatred in you? It's not a good feeling, is it? Now think about every time you felt love. Close your eyes for a minute. Remember a time. It could be a time when maybe you gave birth, or a time when maybe your child gave birth, or a time when you fell in love for the very first time, or a time that you can remember your mother or your father holding you, kissing you, but when so much love So much love. Could be when a friend was showing you great compassion. Now breathe that in. Remember that feeling. And to exhale. And allow that feeling to flow through you. Now open your eyes. How did that feel? How did that feel in your heart? How did that feel in your physical body? How did that feel in your mind? What did that do for you? Did that remind you how good it feels to be walking in love? How many of you did it remind you how it felt to walk in love? Because sometimes it's hard for us to keep that feeling, isn't it? Yeah. We walk out there in the world and we see, we turn on the news, we read the newspaper. I'm going to invite you to have a new life today. I'm going to invite you to turn off the TV. I'm going to invite you to close the newspaper. I'm going to invite you to allow all good things to be read, seen, and felt by you. If we're reading bad things, seeing bad things, hearing bad things, and feeling bad things, how can we expect to walk in love? Jesus, they can find no record. For a large part of his life, he disappeared into the wilderness. Now there could be many reasons for this, couldn't there? A search for enlightenment, a search to be very connected to the Creator. Is there also a possibility that the reason why there was a retraction was that we needed to stay in love and peace and compassion to reach that enlightenment? That we couldn't walk where there was hate all the time and reach that enlightenment? So when you feed yourself, when you read something, you're feeding yourself. When you hear something, you're feeding yourself. When you see something, you're feeding yourself. You're feeding your spirit. What are you feeding it? Is it love? Is it joy? Is it compassion? I tried to go to the movies just because I love movies, and I was like, oh, what movies are out there? And I went to see a movie called Chappie. And I thought, oh, this is going to be really cool because this is about a computer that can feel, and oh, this is going to be awesome. And oh my gosh, it was horrific. It was horrible. I mean, I cried. I sat there, I kept flinching. I kept doing this, and I just said, okay, I have decided that I cannot go see anything besides a G and possibly a PG. Because what I'm feeding myself, there was so much hate in it.
Those are bad.
It is. Do you remember when the cartoons, there was no disrespect in cartoons? Do you guys remember that? There was no, it wasn't teaching you to be disrespectful to your friends or your mom or your dad. Do you remember those times? And now you turn on a cartoon and they're bullying and they're disrespecting their parents and I'm like, and we're sitting there little minds in front of it saying, here, watch some cartoons, and we walk out. I'm going to invite you that if you sit someone in front of the TV to watch a cartoon, you sit with them. See what's feeding that little mind.
Amen.
What's feeding it? It's true. And for you, I'm going to invite you. What is it feeding you? Ask yourself. We have an abundance of our children that are trying to hurt themselves because they're in such pain. And they're in pain from what they're seeing. They're in pain from what they're reading. They're in pain because they're being bullied. They're in severe pain because everything they're feeding themselves is in the negative. And they're developing. We have children as young as 5 and 6 that are trying to hurt themselves. There is something wrong. So today, as we honor Easter and we honor all of these belief systems and all of these rituals, I'm going to ask you, are you willing to step into a new life? Are you willing to be bold? Are you willing to be strong? Are you willing to say, whoa, you can't bully that person? Are you willing to stop your car if you see on the side of the road somebody beating somebody? Are you willing to go, no? Are you willing to see that school bus stop, and when the kids get off and somebody's being hurt, you stop and you say no? Are you willing to be that bold? Or are we going to stay in this life where we are taught to, I don't see that. I don't see that. Because if I say I saw that, then my spirit says I have to do something about that.
Yeah.
True.
Very
Amen.
true.
That's what Jesus would do, you know?
That's
Like, that's one of the main things I think, you know, like,
Mhm.
you know, with that, like, I mean, if you see someone struggling, and I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know, I personally feel a connection from when I was young. If I saw someone on the side of the road,
Mhm.
like, and it's just an instinct now. I don't know. It's
But what
like,
are we
I feel a
taught
connection,
now?
like, I'm like, well, I'm here, they're struggling.
Mhm.
It's so obvious that someone needs help, and to pass up, I feel bad.
But that's your heart.
Yeah.
But what are we taught today? If they're homeless, if they're on the street,
They might attack you or something. I don't know.
We're taught a
People
lot.
are scared about that.
oh, I've heard it. I've heard it, you guys. Oh, they chose to be there. They're on drugs. They're on they alcohol. And I go, really? Have you seen how many children are on the street? Oh, it's because their parents were on drugs. No, a lot of them lost their breadwinner unexpectedly. They didn't have insurance. You got single moms and single dads on the streets with their children. And we're taught to look the other way because they're just going to take your money and they're going to go straight to the liquor store or to the drug dealer. Now, somebody's on the street, they're hungry, and I understand. Believe me, I do understand. If somebody is going into severe DTs, and severe DTs can actually take your life, and they take your money to go get, I don't know what they call it. What do they call it if you buy drugs?
Marijuana. Colt 45.
Probably a hit.
I think it's a little worse.
What do they call that? When a fix. That's it. A fix. I was like, I'm trying to get the word. A fix. So they go to get their fix because they're going into severe DTs, and that saves their life. You just saved somebody's life. You gave them another day to wake up. You gave them another day to change their choices. You gave them another day to go seek help. You gave them another day for somebody to look at them and say, I can help you. Isn't that beautiful? So let's look at Zoroaster. Let's see, are there any similarities? Was born of a Virginia by immaculate conception, by a ray of divine reason, baptized in a river, and performed baptisms with water, fire, and holy wind. In his youth, he astounded wise men with his wisdom. He was tempted in the wilderness by the devil. He began his ministry at the age of what? 30. When did Jesus? 30. He cast out demons and restored the sight to blind men. He taught about heaven and hell and revealed mysteries, including resurrection, judgment, salvation, and the apocalypse. He had sacred cup or grail. He was slain. He was the Word made flesh. His followers expected a second coming. I just went way back south. I went to the old south. Are there any similarities?
Yeah.
Yep. Horus, born of a virgin, Isis, only begotten son of God. Osiris. Thank you so much. Ancient Egyptians paraded a manger and child representing Horus through the streets at the time of the winter solstice. About what time? December 21st. He didn't have any birth date because he was not considered human. Death threats during infancy. He tried to have him killed. The god that tells Horus's mother, come, thou goddess Isis, hide thyself with thy child. Do you remember how Jesus was saved? Was a warning precipitated that? Absolutely. There's a break in life history. There's no data between the ages of 12 and 30. Who else has no data between the ages of 12 and 30? Age at baptism, 30. Walked on water, cast out demons, healed the sick, restored the sight to the blind, was crucified, descended into hell, and resurrected after 3 days.
I did a thesis on Horus, and Horus was 3,000 years before Jesus the Christ, and every part of Horus's life is identical, not some of it, every piece Christianity took that entire story and tagged it to Jesus. Every part of it.
So,
Identical.
are we all saying the same thing? We're just using
Yeah, different names.
different names, same thing. Now, I'm going to ask you, how many of you honestly, now this is going to require some strength and boldness here. Since I'm asking you to be strong and be bold, I'm going to ask you to be strong and bold in a place that you know we're all going to support you. How many of you have had judgment against other religions, other thought processes, other belief patterns? Are you starting to look at this and go, oh, wow? When I started doing my research, when I was basically asked to not come back to church because I was the one going, wait a minute, that's not what Jesus taught us. Wait a minute, that's not what Jesus taught us. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. That's not what the Bible told me. That's not, And then at the age of 15 to 17, I started visiting all these different churches, everything from Catholic and Baptist and Presbyterian, Seventh-day Adventist, and then I branched out into Buddhism and Hindu, and I started going, wait a minute, we're all saying the same thing. Why are we arguing about who's right? And here, the proof is in the pudding. So it's all about symbolism. Look at all the symbols. And then in the center of our symbol is our medicine wheel, because I have to honor my native tradition.
Oh.
But look at this. It's all in the symbolism. So I'm going to ask you today, will you embark on a new life? Will you decide to be strong and bold? To open your heart is being strong and bold. That can be scary. Because when you open your heart out there, it can get hurt, can it? But I'm going to ask you, will you be the example for other people to look at and to follow? Not your words, your actions. Will you remember that our children, your children, every child is watching you and absorbing and learning from you? Your friends, your family, your neighbors are watching you, even the ones that think you're crazy. They are. They're watching you. And if you keep walking with that peace and that love and that compassion and that example, I will tell you, you will be amazed at how many of your neighbors that were having issues with you for whatever reason, all of a sudden, they're being kind to you and gentle to you. So I'm going to ask you today, it's Easter. This is about a new life. And it's about a new life in all these different, all of them. I will tell you, my heart was so moved. My heart was so moved because I had somebody come to me and say, Selena, she doesn't have a lot of money. She's single and she does not have a lot of money. And I could tell every time we passed the basket, and I would tell people, if you don't have money, you can put in love. Just put your intention into the basket. Because remember what Jesus said about the woman that came in and dropped her last few cents in? The rich people that came in and just were dropping loads of money, and she dropped in. He said she gave more. She came to me and she said, Selena, I really operate from paycheck to paycheck. But I found a way that I can give. I work a lot, but 4 days a week I treat myself to a Starbucks latte. 4 days. I took that money, and I don't go to Starbucks anymore, and I put that in the basket. And I thought, wow, what giving. I sat here and watched a woman who her husband has had several strokes. They're losing their home. And I watched her drop it into the basket. And I tried to give it back to her. Because a lot of times I don't watch what goes in the basket because I'm holding the space of thanksgiving and gratitude for this space to be here. And I saw her drop in money. I tried to give it back to her. You know what she said? My daughter gave us money for food and I had $5 left over. How amazing is that? What strength, what boldness is that? Can we carry that same boldness that these people have come and done? And can we carry that out in the world and be the example for so many others?
I want to tell you one story. I was a little bit sad. As a pastor, you know, I'm part of several groups that teach pastors how to be better at what we do, how to touch people, how to talk better, how to research better. Do you know, leading up to Easter, how many emails I got that this was going to be the largest, even over Christmas, the largest of people, new people coming into your church, and how to make it your highest profitable
business, like.
The first one I got, I thought, oh, well, that's just one. Then I got another one from another, and another one from another, and another, and I said, wait a minute. How did we take something that's so sacred and turn it into, now we do need to make money. Let's be clear. Our churches won't be here, our spiritual institutions like this would not be here if we didn't have people giving money. We would go out of business. We wouldn't have been here had Scout for almost 2 years without any donations. Gave almost $3,000 every month, and her store has suffered from it. We wouldn't be here if that didn't happen. So we do need to make money. And I do. I want to thank Scout, because we would have closed a long time ago. And she took from her establishment, from her store, from her place of business, and she did it even at a detriment. And we're so grateful. We're so thankful. Can I just get a round of applause? But it's because she believes. So we do need to make money. But when we take and that becomes our focus, we've lost our way a little bit. When we have people that we're holding the space for the Great Spirit and the Creator to talk with you and to share positive, uplifting messages, and we take that and we bring in all that money and we go buy a $10 million home, we've lost our way. We've lost our way. Because we could easily live in a much less home and be very comfortable and safe and take all that extra money and do outreach programs. Couldn't we? So when we embark on this new life, I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, is this feeding my soul? Is this feeding my spirit? Would I want my child to do what I'm doing right this second? Am I proud of what I'm doing right this moment? Am I happy? Anybody that would see what I'm doing right this moment, would I be standing here saying, yes, look at me?
Amen.
Or would I cringe and go, oh, I'm not too old enough. So I'm asking you today, have a new life. Walk in abundance and prosperity. Walk with compassion and with boldness. I want to see our young people. We have several young people. I want to see our young people be bold.
Yeah.
Bold.
On South Cop, what you did, you were bold. You know, the sign and stuff.
Oh yes, I saw a picture of this. Would you please, Jonathan, would you just share that real
Yeah,
quick?
that sign thing.
Yes.
I was bored and I don't know.
Stand up, turn around, let people know what you did.
I was like just bored and I don't know. I just felt like doing something about it, so I don't know.
You made a sign, and what did the sign say?
It's just peace and love, you know.
It said peace and love. Yeah. And where did you stand?
Just standing on the intersection of like some pretty busy roads.
Is that bold?
Yeah.
How many of you would do that?
Yo, that's cool.
Please,
The Lovolution.
please, I would love for you to do that. I would love for all of us to do that. I love the videos that the people put on the blindfolds, and they put a sign out that says, I trust you, do you trust me? And they give out hugs with a blindfold. Now, I got trust, you guys. But wow, that's a lot of trust. That is the epitome of trust, when you're sitting there with a blindfold with your arms open to hug anybody.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? What can you do today to be bold? What can you do tomorrow, every day when you wake up? What can I do to be bold today? I want to thank you for being here on this amazing day. You could have been at the amazing performances that are going on. You could have. I mean, most people, they go for the entertainment. They don't really go for,
Right.
they're just going to be entertained.
That's all.
You know, and I wanted to do something different. I wanted this to be about Easter, but I wanted us to see how all of these rituals are very, very similar. So that we, when we walk out there, we can love all of our brothers and our sisters, independent of their belief system.
I hope.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you as we end today to open your hearts a little bit wider. Open your palms, plant your feet. Take a deep, deep, deep inhalation through your nose. Where when your chest opens this time, it even opens more. You move into your heart space. Here, all of your awareness in your heart space. Take another deep breath in and breathe even deeper. Full, 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 full. Feel how your chest opens. Allow your heart space to expand. Creator, Great Spirit, you have been called by so many names. Vishnu, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Shiva, Siva, God, Lord, Buddha. There have been so many names for you. We call out to you, Great Spirit. Today, we've been looking into our hearts to accept all of our brothers and our sisters, to see our similarities, to honor Jesus, Buddha, Vishnu, Horus, all of the names that you have been called. We ask you, help us to take this information and what resonates with us, let it take root in our heart, that we may walk out and follow in those footsteps. We know it's hard and it's difficult. We ask you to give us the strength and the courage. But Creator, Great Spirit, we ask for boldness. The boldness to go out and be different. The boldness to show love and compassion in all things. The boldness for our young people that are facing bullying or adversaries. Give them the strength and the love. Give us the love for ourselves. It is hard sometimes, Creator. As we breathe in, let us breathe in this love. This love that you have for us that is so abundant. We are your creation. We ask you to let us see ourselves through those eyes, through your eyes. We are strong and we are great, and together we are unstoppable. If we pick up a twig and we break it, it is easy. But we pick up 50, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, and we try to break it and we cannot. This shows us that through unity, Great Spirit, we can make great change on this planet. Please help us to open to a new consciousness. A consciousness of love. The Christ consciousness, or the Buddha consciousness, the Vishnu consciousness. So many names, but that consciousness that is within us, Great Spirit, the kingdom lies within us. Let us connect to that and allow that compassion and that love to flow from us. And as as we breathe in this love that is coming from you, we allow it to fill us up and to overflow from us. We send it out to the leaders of the nations, that their heart may be pierced, where war can be no more, where compassion and peace and love resides. Their hearts will be stricken and filled, that no harm can come to another. We send this out to our loved ones and our family members. We send this out on the waters and on the wind. We send this out to encompass the entire world and send it out into the star nation. Creator, give us love for ourselves and our hearts, and let us walk with peace and gentleness in our footsteps, gently caressing Mother Earth. Let us be her voice that whispers on the wind gently. Let us stand for her. Let us be her voice to say we cannot hurt or poison our waters, our air, our land, our soil, our food. Let us walk with abundant, unconditional love in our heart for all walks of people. Let us hold sweetness and kindness and peace in our mouth, and let it drip like honey as we speak and feed others. We ask this in the name of all that is. So it shall be. Amen. Aho! Thank you.